Yes, guys, welcome back to another week of the weekly roundup. We're on week 21, and we've got some more news for you. Of course, we have. We've got some juicy news, and we'll even give you guys some sneak peeks into our newsletter
Jeez.
as we dive into the charts at the end as a cheeky treat for you guys as well.
Yeah, it's a big treat. That is
Um, it is.
big treat.
It's a big
It's
insight.
a biggie,
It's a biggie. It is a biggie.
like
But we,
Vitalik.
if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, that guy's correct.
Oh dear.
Right. All right. Okay. Moving off that, we'll move straight into Iran. We covered this. I can't remember what week it was now. So I think it was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Iran were talking about using Bitcoin as a means for to obviously use to get able to imports and trading goods. Obviously now it's official. It's been officially confirmed by them. So it's happening.
Some
It's
big
happening.
news.
It is big news because it is bigger news when you link it to this part of this new tweet that's just got released. Actually, Russia and Iran will be integrating payment systems. This is very big news. Russia, Iran, and Qatar account for 60% of the world's gas reserves.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Well.
we know all these three names in front of us are like huge names in terms of like energy, in terms of like natural resources, and if Iran are moving their imports in on to Bitcoin, you just can only imagine how much money is going to be running through the blockchain. It's massive. It actually is massive. I feel like no one's really speaking about it too much because I guess there's other stories going on which are potentially people think are bigger than this. But
Like, imagine sitting here 2 years ago and reading that headline.
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you put it like that, actually, it's actually quite mad. When for example, when we got into crypto, and I was going to tell you, okay, 2 years time, countries like Russia, Iran are going to be using Bitcoin to trade gas. It's mad,
Yeah,
isn't it?
no. It's like
It's
what
absolutely
we
crazy.
used to speculate about this sort of stuff like years ago when we were talking about we'd be like, oh yeah, like one day
Yeah,
like countries will trade in it or whatever. Like but
yeah,
almost like a
exactly. Look what's
pipe
happening.
almost like a pipe dream and then now like within the space of well, like you've probably been in the space what 2 years? Like I've been doing this
Yeah,
full time for nearly 2 years now and it's just like in that in that time people now use it for like it's an actual currency.
it's.
It's crazy.
I mean, we did say it. All I'm going to say is we did say it.
Yeah, and
I feel like
imagine what our
certain
next.
people would have seen it from the start as well. Like even
Oh
years
yeah,
way before we got into
of
it. Do you know what I
course.
mean? Everyone knew. Everyone knows where this is going. It's just people don't believe it until they see it, like they are now. And I guess like other countries are going to start jumping on to this now as well once they kind of see how much more like efficient it is, or for whatever reason they're using it for. But
Yeah,
it's
of course.
happening.
And
People are actually using it now for actual real life importing and exporting, which is where a lot of money goes through
hundred
on a day
percent.
to day basis. So
I think
it's
that's one
massive
of
news for
the
crypto.
most important things, though. How you were just saying that we got into it, and like obviously some people were there before us. And that's kind of the whole idea of like the network effect. So if you know people whoever's watching this, if you know people who are like a bit like precarious about crypto because they just think it's a fad or whatever, obviously they're entitled to their own opinion. But we're looking at like network adoption. If you think about us specifically, it's created a full time job for me, and like it's created well at least a part time position for you to start with, and then maybe more full time like
Yeah,
down the line. Harry, for example, one of our best mates, he is now full time in crypto as well. Like that's the sort of thing, and I know that we're obviously quite specialized, but what you're looking at is just more and more people adopting the technology, but also then creating jobs for more people to come in. Like every wave of like ballroom we have, that more people like join the wave, and that's basically how the network adoption works, and that's why over time that
mm,
we know specifically like me and you that we know that it's going to be adopted long term. We've seen this as well. We've seen this with not just with crypto but with gaming. Like we were talking about gaming just before we came on. And we both are competitive gamers, or we have been throughout history, like our history, and we've seen it with gaming, and it almost feels the same. Like in my opinion, anyway, it
yeah,
feels the same. Like watching people like adopt it. When we were first playing like Call of Duty events, like no one there, and then all of a sudden they're playing in the stadiums for like millions and millions of dollars, and
exactly.
it kind of feels the same with crypto. It's like, oh, there's no one really there. People are kind of like skeptical of it. All of a sudden, like now you've got a country trade it, a big country as well. Obviously, there's other countries like you've got your El Salvador and your Central African Republic who recognize Bitcoin as legal tender. But now you've got like Iran saying they're going to use Bitcoin and crypto for trading goods. That's massive news.
It's huge, isn't it? It's like what I'd explain it as. It's like just literally like a snowball effect. As that snowball gets bigger, more people jump on it, more people see opportunities in regards to it, and they all want a piece of it kind of thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like I said, happened with gaming as well. It obviously started off with like, your own individual teams, which were basically run by teenagers.
Mm.
Now you've got franchises, which you can kind of compare to like your corporations of your like blockchain world,
Yeah.
who are taking over it and basically now make the money from it, which is literally is happening
Yeah.
with crypto, isn't it? So
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Like
it's mad.
it's
You love to see it though.
it's just adoption curves, and it just
That's what it
plays
is. It's
out for
literally what
everything.
it is.
Mm.
It's
Same with
literally what
like
it is.
even with like mobile phones. Think about like having Nokia's on that, and then going to like Nokia's, and not many people had them. Maybe some business people, or when I was maybe 10, 11, 12, when I had like a 3310 or whatever. But then everyone now has
What
an
a phone.
iPhone. Everyone has an iPhone. Like
That's what I mean.
not many people used the mobile at all. But then as soon as like application layers were built on top of it, it made it like everyone wanted one. Everyone kind of needed one because you'd be left
Yeah.
behind if you didn't have one. So we're waiting for that application layer for crypto, really, aren't we?
That's what it is. It's just like human nature. When people kind of catch on to what's the most efficient thing to use,
Mm.
everyone jumps onto it, whether you're an early adopter or a late adopter, regardless. I feel like at some point, once the masses adopt on it, it just absolutely explodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you can relate that to gaming, you can relate that to technology with your iPhones, internet, everything.
Yeah,
It's just one of those things. It's just like Metcalfe's law, I think what we spoke about as well before. So it
yeah,
happens in every aspect.
yeah. It's all about like we were just saying, that application layer that makes it simple for anyone to be able to use is the biggest hurdle. That's
Mm.
the first hurdle that if we want like mainstream adoption, people like my grandma, even though R.I.P. rest in peace, grandma, if she like picked up an iPhone, she probably would be able to use that or an iPad. In fact, she used to have an iPad, but if she like tried to make a crypto transaction, she wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh, no
But
chance.
soon there'll be like applications where no one's even going to know they're using like crypto. All it is at a very like bottom level is what I try and explain to people, especially skeptical people, is that it's just a way to move value faster, and that's what we really need to emphasize in the market. It's like forget everything else. Obviously, it's way more complex than that. There's a lot more you can do with it, but
Mm.
it's just a way to move value faster from one place to another. And it's the same with that. If you use the same like analogy as like phones again. When you have a phone, like back in the day, Nokia, what could you do? Send a text, make a call, play Snake. That is literally it.
Hey, it was a good game.
It's
It
a
was a good game.
great game. But now, like, you've got a computer in your pocket. So,
Yeah, it literally is, isn't it? You can do
yeah.
everything. Information is just there at literally at the touch of a screen. So like,
Hmm.
it's crazy.
So that's,
Talking about mass adoption.
yeah,
Sorry,
so I was just
do
going
you
to say
want to?
that's our argument with crypto. Like, on my argument is like, yeah, okay, now it's seen for value transfer, speculation, and we're trying to build applications on it, but we don't really know where the tech can take us. It
Innit?
is just moving value faster, so that makes it better than what we're currently doing because you don't have anything to settle like instant settlement, and then on top of that, in the next 5 to 10 years, where we're going to see the real applications be built, and then people be brought into the space like longer term. But yeah,
Exactly.
I'll
Even
leave
we
that
don't
to you.
know where this is going to go. Exactly. Even like we're obviously really pro crypto, and like we believe in the technology. But even we will be surprised. Say say if you have a conversation in 5 years' time,
Hmm.
and what's happened in those 5 years, some certain parts will still surprise us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And things that's going to help mass adoption is stuff like this. This is actually pretty big
Mm.
news, specifically more for obviously NFTs, but nonetheless, it's still crypto regardless. But Meta allows users to post NFTs across Facebook and Instagram. So we obviously had this in Twitter. They obviously allowed us to have there was hexagonal
Yeah.
shapes, wasn't it, as a display pictures to validate your NFT. Now Meta are basically going to incorporate that kind of ideology into Facebook and Instagram, and it's huge because these are the biggest social media platforms in today's world,
Yeah.
and NFTs are now going to be a part of that, which makes me believe, like I said to you off camera before, the next like run up in the markets, because obviously we saw like a massive run up in Bitcoin price, every other price. Obviously, as markets kind of like floating in between, NFTs came out of nowhere and they exploded, didn't they? Because it was a
Hmm.
new thing. I
Yeah.
feel like that will happen again, and when it happens again, it's just going to be 10x the amount
Yeah.
of like the exposure it got last time because of this, because people have got access to it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's just like got so many foundations, and again, like so many ways that it could go. It could like blow up in so many different ways. Even just from like there's things what 1.9 billion active users on Facebook or something. If those
It's a
people,
lot.
they're just eyes on NFTs. If like 1 or 10 or 5% of those people look into even what an NFT is, that's a huge amount of people compared to what we've got in crypto at the minute. If it's like, say it's 10%, that's what, 190 million people. How many people in crypto? Maybe 320 million, I think, at the absolute peak. That's nearly
Mm.
half the peak. There's probably only like 200 million people in crypto right now, like as we speak. So that itself could bring, if it just brings 10% adoption, that itself almost doubles the amount of people in crypto. And like, again, what we were talking, like I want to relay to this as well, again, gaming. That, as soon as we start to see NFTs in gaming, which will come at some point soon, because it's
100%.
going to be a money maker for whoever like cracks that first.
Yeah.
That will bring so many eyes into the crypto space. I really want to drill down on this point. In fact, I had a conversation with my mum last night about this. I was like, look, we're at the dinner table. I was like, look, NFTs are going to be a massive thing for gamers, and gamers are going to bring a wave of adoption. I don't know if it's going to be the next wave, because I think institutions might get there first. It's between gamers and institutions, because all we've had is like these generations of people who had their microeconomies. Like if you think about kids, for example, like kids probably know like how many V-bucks there are to a pound, or how many V-bucks, like that's a fortnite
Oh,
dollar
100%.
that there is to the dollar. I haven't
Even I
got,
know that.
I don't know. But the same with like COD points or whatever. But as soon as that money's within that micro community, it's lost. Like you buy something and effectively it goes to zero. You own it, cool. But monetary value, that's worth zero now. It's just worth like your pride or your like appearance in the game. As soon as that can be unlocked to be transferred within the game, or can show it off, like maybe on, even on, like imagine you can put your Call of Duty character as your Facebook picture or whatever. Imagine what that's going to do for exposure for children, or like people who are into gaming, like really into gaming. It's going to bring so many
Mm.
eyes on the space. But if it's like interoperable, like say you can then trade COD coin against ETH, or COD coin against like XRP, or Bitcoin, or any crypto, the
Yeah.
amount of people who weren't into the crypto space before, who are now generating or interested in like swapping in and out of crypto just to make it easier to buy different tokens or assets for their game, is just like that adoption is
Yeah.
going to be massive.
Yeah. And what will make that even bigger, bro, is the secondary market. Like
Mm.
people, say if you ever buy an NFT and it's a one of one NFT,
Yeah.
you can use it in Call of Duty, for example. And obviously it's a desired skin. You can sell it on the secondary market and obviously make real large money out of it as well. So it's kind of just going to bring a completely different aspect into that skins, because if you look, I'm sure you'll be able to find the figures at the touch of a button now on your laptop. Like if you found out how much money Fortnite made from
Oh yeah.
skins, say in the first 2 years, it's ridiculous numbers. The amount of money like FIFA make from Ultimate Team, it's ridiculous. Like it's just an add-on on a game
Yeah.
that people can spend money on,
Hmm.
and that children can spend money on, and it's huge. It'll absolutely boggle your mind. For those non-gamers listening,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
it's more than you think it is. It's way more than you think it is
Yeah,
actually.
it's
So
it's ridiculous, and I think that like one thing that people often like overlook with NFTs is like, yeah, it's cool, and yeah, you'll give an economy to people, and they'll have digital ownership, which is the most important part of it. Is like people will actually digitally own something. What people forget is that those creators will inbuild royalties into that. So every single time that's traded on the secondary market, like it's in like, let's say it's Activision for Call of Duty, or Epic Games for Fortnite, it's in their best interest to get that secondary market like sick, because every single time someone trades a skin, or like whatever it might be, in-game collectible, could be like a sword or a specific axe or whatever for
mm,
Coinbase, they're getting 2% to 5%, or whatever they decide is their in-game royalty, just for that being traded from one player to another. So it's in their best interest to make things like, oh, there's a one of one collectible that's worth like $1 million. Every time someone buys that, they're making like, if it's like 5%, it's like 50 grand or whatever. It's like that's how the a new gaming company could really unlock some massive value.
yeah, agreed. Gaming is going to be massive. I think that's a good shout. Like obviously we're not financial advisors, but maybe start looking into like some gaming tokens or whatever. Do your research on them and get involved in some of them, because I have no doubt that it might not be like this year or maybe not even next year, but like in the future
Mm.
they're going to be huge. They are
Yeah.
going to be huge. Like I have no doubt in my mind about it. So
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
the hardest part, like what like is knowing when that introduction of gaming is going to come. We talked about this just
Mm,
before camera. It's like, when are they going to come into the game? Like I was talking about an ex Call of Duty commentator called like Fwiz, who's now CEO of like Polygon Studios, and he's done like so much within the like Web 2 world. like was like CEO like YouTube gaming, like scaled that up to the second biggest like platform. He was one of the biggest Call of Duty like commentators when we first started playing competitive gaming, and now he's there at Polygon Studios, and that makes me think, okay, look, I'm actually interested in Polygon now. Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna research what they're doing, because I know like how much he's activated in terms of like monetization of gaming. He almost like created the genre for like content creators to get paid like within the gaming industry, and that's never like was never even a thing, and now it's a multi-billion-dollar like industry. So what is it going to be like when it comes to crypto? What can he do there? They're the things that are exciting, and the timing's the hard part, like you say, because it could easily be 2 years, but it also could, all they need is one AAA game to be like, oh yeah, we're making a secondary NFT marketplace for
Yeah,
our skins. Boom, there you go. It's literally there like that, and that's something that I think that you just need to keep an eye on. And that's why NFTs, if you get a chance to buy, in my opinion, a blue chip, whatever that might be, like I've considered probably just punks, like crypto punks and Bored Apes at the minute as blue chips. Yes, they've got a huge price tag on them, so I'm not saying go and blast it if you've not got the money to spare. But I think that whatever comes in the future for NFTs, they're going to be at the forefront of it. So they will at least have some part of the industry, and that's why I'm so bullish on them long term, because
100%.
I haven't pushed or never talk about NFTs like too deeply, but definitely at some point gaming's going to be huge within crypto, and if they stay like industry leaders, they're going to be involved, and they because Yuga Labs owns both of them, and they're both blue chips, and they've got such a big community behind them. I
Yeah,
presume they're going to be at the forefront of whatever comes with NFTs.
100%. 100%. I think actually yesterday, I think it was Snoop Dogg and Eminem like performed. I don't know if it's a new song that they've got out or whatever it was, but they
Mm.
were performing basically at this like MTV or Music Award or something like that.
Yeah,
And the music video, or it had something to do with Bored Apes,
yeah,
because I'm pretty sure they both own a Bored Ape.
yeah,
I know Eminem definitely owns one, so that
yeah.
just shows like obviously yeah you can relate it to gaming, but you can also relate it to music because all these celebrities have got these like Bored Apes now, and they're just basically using them as their online identity, which is it's mad. It's
Yeah,
mad to
and
see.
it all sounds like so far fetched and like a bit too much. And I know that it's like on the edge of everyone's like comfort zones, and people are like, yeah, well, I'd pay 100,000 for the ape or whatever, like all this sort of stuff. Yeah, but like Snoop Dogg opened his own blooming record label in the metaverse, and
Yeah,
he's like a massive collector of NFTs as well. So it's just like
there's loads.
it could be like a fad. It could be, of course, it could. Anything could be a fad, but if you can relate that to gaming and you can integrate both those things, what you got to think is they're like one of the most powerful, or not the most, but because obviously you got Disney and stuff, but up there with one of the most powerful like entertainment brands now, Yuga Labs. Their net worth must be massive. I'm not sure what it is, but it's got to be into the billions at least. And with that
Yeah,
sort of treasury plus their innovation and the community they've got, it's like that's a recipe for like absolute explosion of like both like being innovative. We'd already seen that with their like the other side, the metaverse they're creating, but also like the opportunity for like new people to come into the space and like have a go with not just NFTs, like gaming to NFTs, but NFTs to gaming as well. Like it's gonna mash that world together, and when that happens, it's just that I actually genuinely believe that people will. This is getting really far fetched now. Like down the
go
line
on.
when we get like cheaper energy and stuff, which I think will happen over time as like AI and stuff gets better, energy is going to get cheaper. This is my opinion long term. That we'll have at some point, everyone's going to have like some sort of maybe like universal basic income, because I think there's going to be like not enough jobs essentially, and I think people are going
Yeah,
to earn most of their side hustle off some sort of gaming, because people now think, okay, yeah, if you're good at a game, obviously you're going to get paid to play it just like you would in any sport, but what I think will get inbuilt into games is like advertising, and essentially like now we don't own our data. So if you go on like Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you're looking at ads, and Instagram and Facebook and that are taking the revenue. You can kind of see it on YouTube. You make a YouTube vid, someone puts you put an ad on your vid, and you get as a creator some of the revenue. But if you just like play in game, I think you'll get ads coming up like during the game, and for your attention you'll get paid from that. So I think people,
mm,
what I'm trying to say is people will get like a subsidiary income. I think it's going to come from gaming.
could do. It really could do. Obviously, with God knows what the future holds like that, because that's a really like deep thought that is, I guess. But if there was ever going to be like a side hustle of the future, gaming is probably the most likely thing, especially because now like you compare like even our generation to our parents' generation, and even the current generation and their experience with gaming and all that technology, all that kind of stuff, it just kind of lean towards that kind of
Well, even
scenario, doesn't it?
even think now, yeah. So say give us like 10, 15 years time, and we like start playing a new game.
Yeah,
We have less time because let's say we've got other responsibilities like children, etc. We go onto a game, and some 10-year-old kid has hustled for a skin that we want. We're just probably going to buy it off him.
yeah, 100%.
He's put the hours in. He's essentially hustled as his side hustle, and we're
Yeah,
paying him for his hours to get the skin that we want for our
yeah,
character.
yeah. I guess that kind of happens now. I guess in some sort of games that kind of does happen now. I guess, but
Yeah.
that's a mad thought. It's a mad thought. But we'll move on from gaming, and we're going to cover PayPal and Coinbase. Now we've spoke about PayPal a lot and how they're big players
Mm.
and just how involved they get within like crypto and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They've basically joined Coinbase's trust network to comply with travel rule. Now I don't know too much about this. I've only just read into this today. Really, basically, obviously, Coinbase launched a trust thing earlier on this year just to kind of comply with some sort of like I think it's called the travel rule here in the US law.
Mm-hmm.
Just basically, it's all basically to do with compliance and consumer protection, all that kind of stuff. So if you if there's any transactions over $1,000, I think they like have to share the customers'
Information, yeah.
details, basically information, just so there's like no money laundering or that kind of stuff. I think it says it in this article here.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you've got Binance in there, all these people who are already members of this, and now PayPal's decided to join it as well. So good to see that
Yeah.
crypto companies are being active in terms of trying to be compliant and trying to, almost get rid of this persona that it's all a scam kind of thing. So
Yeah, for sure. Now, I don't know
big
too
name
much
in there.
about this specifically, but
It's not a
PayPal
big, yeah,
seem to really be leading the way from legacy finance. They obviously innovated. They almost created like payments on the internet, didn't they? And then
yeah,
now they're like almost being the first legacy company to take the step up into like Web3
yeah.
as well.
That's what I mean. Obviously, you've got here like all like these names here, but we all know these names like exchanges, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But then PayPal being who they are, jumping straight in, getting on board with it as well, just to kind of almost like support them a bit, isn't it?
Sure.
It's not really huge news, but it's good to see anyway PayPal getting involved. So we'll move on from that
Mm.
and get into this because obviously I think when we recorded last week this was happening, so we didn't really get to speak about it too much. But obviously now we know what happened in the summit last week,
Mm-hmm.
and Jerome Powell kind of said that there was more brace for some more pain, basically, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone kind of took it as like instant hawkishness,
Mm-hmm.
and the markets kind of like saw a bit of a dump on the day as well. But what I wanted to kind of bring up was our newsletter in week 4 because
Mm-hmm.
this is the section that you wrote obviously about talking about interest rates and how people are saying they need to. I think you've referred to like was it Raoul Powell? Like, who was he interviewing again? He was interviewing
Larry McDonald.
yeah, when he was like they need to bring the interest rate up the same amount of inflation. And Raoul Powell's reaction, I think you wrote it in here somewhere.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And like you've explained here, guys, I'm sure you guys are reading it right now. Like the math on the interest rate and the debt they'll have to pay back doesn't really like add up. And I think we both share the same opinion in the fact that we don't think the Fed are actually going to follow through with what they're kind of indicating.
Yeah, it's just as detrimental for them to follow through as it is to not follow through. They're in such a tricky situation. We've been saying this for weeks. And like, I see why he's come out and said what he said. And he's almost like tightened the economy without actually having to do any tightening. He's come out and he's scared everyone. He's like, yeah, we're definitely following through. And everyone's like, and like the market drops 4%, like over what, he has an 8-minute speech and we get a 4% drop. So that's exactly what he needed to happen. But now, like I put in this article, at the minute, the debt's between 2.5 and 2.7. I mean, the interest rates in America are between 2.5 and 2.75%. Powell's suggesting in the next like rate hike meeting, they're going to raise a further set 0.75%. So let's say we're at 2.75. That brings us up to 3.5%. On a $30 trillion debt, that gives us a $1 trillion per annum, so per year, like just to like be able to like pay the debt off. So where are they bringing that extra $1 trillion in to pay the interest on the debt and not even make a dent at the debt that they already owe. Because, like Larry McDonald says in the YouTube video, the Fed's America's defense budget is 700 billion, and their Medicare budget is about 700 billion. So that's like one of those and almost half of the other one that they're going to have to find funding for on top of the interest that they have to pay if they bring their interest rates up this high. One of the things about inflation, even though it's bad for the everyday person and people who are not making a lot of money, is if you have big debts, it makes the debts worth less because the currency is worth less. So it's one thing that people don't understand with like economies, is that if they have big debt, it's in their best interest to have high inflation, because then the debt is actually worth less. Even though the number's bigger, the actual currency is worth like less money. So it's a complicated situation to be in. But what you're gonna think is, when they also, by like pushing interest rates up, making the dollar super strong, not only is it that issue for their own debt, but they're also making it more expensive for other countries, one, to get hold of dollars, and two, to trade in dollars. So their inflation is being pushed onto every other country worse than it's being pushed onto America as well. I mean, their interest rates are being pushed onto other countries, which makes inflation in other countries bigger than it is in America. So they're going to be having all sorts of conversations with central banks. Like if I'm the ECB now and I just see the Fed like raising, that's crushing my economy. My economy is already getting crushed because of like energy crisis. If you're like Japan, even China, like massive exporter to the US, I'll be onto the Fed like what you doing? You need to change something because we can't afford to trade with you. And like Raoul Pal, and I've mentioned in a lot of videos over the however many podcasts we've done, 21, is that at some point people are just going to have to walk away from it because they can't afford to do it. Like, what do you do if your country's like, we've already seen weeks ago, Sri Lanka was the first crack, and then we're seeing cracks all the time, like everywhere. And what in Europe today was inflation like 9.1% or something?
Yeah.
And it's only going to go up while America are tightening, because that's detrimental for everyone in the world. So as much as everyone's saying, oh yeah, let's bring interest rates higher than inflation to tame inflation, and like Raoul Pal says that it's a joke, because how can you do that? And you're only going to do that at the expense of the whole world. And so what? The world's are already a bit like, oh, okay, well, if we don't do what you say, you're going to cut us off from the monetary system like we've seen with Russia. So what incentive do they have to stay using the dollar? Only that they probably have debt in dollars, and they currently trade cross-border in dollars. But if people start trading other things, like you see in Iran and Russia, people are going to be like, look, I can't afford the dollar. It's not even that I don't want to trade in it. I just can't afford it, so I'm going to have to do something else.
That's what I mean. There's going to become a point where, like you said, that's going to happen, and the Fed will have to like quickly switch their stance and like pivot almost like that. But the obviously reason I brought the newsletter into it is because I feel like people really like flippantly say, oh, in order to tame inflation, you need to bring up interest rates. I don't feel like people actually understand the full implications of raising interest rates. And I'm sure obviously like a lot of people do, and like the clever people do, and the people in Jerome Powell's position as well, like they know what's going on. But I feel like the public don't actually understand the repercussions of actually increasing interest rates, what effect that has on debt, what effects that has on other countries trading with you, etc. So they're going to be stuck. They're going to get stuck.
But I get the position of the public as well, because you see inflation, like even with energy, or if you go to the blooming shop, like it's a joke. It's a joke. Like I notice it even just going to buy whatever I go to buy, like food, anything. It's just like things are 50% more expensive than they were last year, like in the shop. Like even bread or stupid things like chocolate bars. Energy's obviously way higher, but that's like from the energy crisis as well that we're in at the minute. But it's like so noticeable. So if you're like really reliant or don't have much like disposable income, and that difference in percentage could literally put you in the negative. So I can understand why people feel how they do, and they're like shouting for raise rates, bring interest rates down, bring inflation down, do whatever you can to bring inflation down. I get why you can say that, but that has repercussions too. We're in a sticky situation. The problem was years ago, and it's just accelerated through the pandemic and then now supply chain issues. We're just dealing with a problem we can't solve, like we've said for weeks, aren't we? I've got a question for you, just quickly before you go on to that. Is like, if you're in the Fed's shoes now, what do you do in this position?
Oh, don't put that pressure on me. There's a reason I'm not in Jerome Powell's seat because you just no matter what he does, he's gonna get fired from someone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I do sympathise for them in that position, but if I'm being brutally honest, obviously what they've done, in my opinion, is I guess we've got it's all good in hindsight because we can kind of see what's happened now.
Mm.
They've obviously they've interpreted data off too many lagging indicators, and we've gotten maybe we were always going to have high inflation from what happened with COVID. No matter who's in power, they had to do it, and that's the only reason inflation's here right now. But I just feel like they could have reacted slightly quicker in terms of tightening, maybe slightly before to help them get this soft landing that they want.
Mm.
But right now, if I was in his position right now, there's not much you can do in this position now because he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like no matter what he does, it's going to affect something negatively, which he doesn't want to affect negatively, if that makes sense.
Mm.
But I think, I don't know. I really don't know what I'd do in his situation. It's got to that point where he just doesn't really have too much of a choice right now, but to kind of almost scare people and tighten a bit more. But leading onto that, it just depends what's going to happen with the economy in general like that. And Raoul Pal tweeted this. So he's obviously really good with his charts and all that. He uses a lot of non-lagging indicators to kind of forecast where he thinks economies like growth's going to come from, etc. And this is a chart he's kind of referred to throughout the whole year in terms of even like predicting this downfall here. He's kind of suggesting that this leader here, the ISM, which is a 16-month lead, is back on the increase. So I guess I don't know if he's got a plan. I don't know if Jerome Powell's got a plan and he knows if he's reading data but he's portraying something else to the public. Do you know what I mean? To kind of play them off each other, but because I'm sure he will see this and see something similar to this. He will have ridiculous amount of team behind him who will kind of be indicating similar data to this, whether it's the ISM 16-month lead or not. I'm sure he'll be aware of this. So maybe what he's doing is working because if this is suggesting this, maybe he's got a plan and he actually is a lot more brighter than we all think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he is, but like we're saying that every road they turn down creates a problem. So it's just like which is the lesser evil. But like Raoul Pal said in the interview that I talked about in the newsletter, he said what Jerome Powell has got is a lot of people who will scare the market. Like, so he's got like Jamie Dimon, he's got like Elon Musk and all these people coming out saying they need to get inflation under control, like however they're going to do it. We need to raise interest rates. We are going into recession, all these sorts of things. And Raoul Pal says the market basically does things by itself. It doesn't actually need the Fed to do things. So what he actually needs, what Powell needs is inflation expectation management rather than actual inflation management, because the market's already doing it by scaring themselves into thinking this is what the Fed are going to do without the Fed actually having to act. So it's the expectation that they need to manage, not necessarily the actual. Obviously, it is the figures, but the expectation will manage the figures. Is basically what the point he's trying to make.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
But this chart shows the ISM there. It's just that we're going to have a quick reversal. Like that's what Raoul Powell's obviously been talking about. I don't know what number that's up to, but he says it's above 40. It's above 47, or that you need to be out of a recession. Is that a 50 at the bottom?
There's 50 there,
okay.
But I don't know what that's. This is for the wide line on your chart there.
Yeah.
But there's a 50, but there goes 45 and then 40 up there. So I don't know if it's inverse. I don't know. I don't know. I've not really looked into too much into the chart only, but he's suggesting, like he's been pretty spot on, to be fair, pretty much the whole year, hasn't he, in terms of what he's called and the charts he's shown. So
yeah, yes.
In Raoul we trust. And then one of the big stories obviously come out, I'm sure everyone's kind of heard about this anyway, is this whole Fed now kind of thing that's come out, which came off the back of this speech that Will's made TikToks on. So I'm sure you've all seen it. If not, go watch it. But it's basically a new payment system that the Fed are basically going to start working on in September, next couple of months, and will be rolled out mid next year. I think it was between May and I can't remember what month they said. But it's not specifically related to crypto, but it kind of brings in this whole shift in narrative that people want more instant payments and more what's the word? I don't know, just a more of a user-friendly kind of bit more technological advanced kind of payment system. that they're going to be rolling out, which
I think
is
that's the
good to
most,
see.
yeah, the most important part is like what you're saying there is just like instant payment and settlement and 24-hour payment and settlement as well. It, like they talked about in the videos, just like allows people to leverage money and it will increase the velocity of money. And that's how you need to get, that's a key thing to get the economy back moving again is
Mm.
you can get money moving around from place to place faster than it currently is. But like you said, it doesn't talk about cryptocurrency specifically. You can speculate all you want, but we try and stick to the facts, and it's probably realistically going to be on some sort of blockchain that I would have thought. We might never see that. We might not see it for years, which blockchain it's on. But like I made a video on, it's like I presume, and in fact I know because Ripple are actually on like the Fed Pay Advisory Board and some of Ripple's partners like Volante and stuff, they will all have had some sort of input to the Fed saying, look, this is what we suggest, at least that. And so in some way, like we just talked about there and like you said before, is that if you have an advancement in a payment system, something that of this scale, going from something that's never been done before to all of a sudden instant payments 24 hours a day, that's the future of finance, and that's going to be plugged in at some point to the blockchain, and it's going to make it more interoperable, like for the future, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Do you
basically what I
think?
think about it.
Do you think like obviously people seeing this whole like need for instant payments would kind of put a bit more um like spotlight on Ripple, like XRP, that kind of technology, so that
Yeah,
it could inadvertently kind of benefit Ripple. Not obviously not saying that the Fed are going to use the XRPL or anything like that, but
yeah,
people might be encouraged to like jump on Ripple's XRPL and start using their
yeah,
obviously
definitely. It's gonna,
instant payments.
like you're saying, that's a great point. It's like it's gonna switch the narrative, or at least highlight a narrative that people want instant payments, and all that Ripple's narrative's been is instant payments. So it's literally playing into the narrative of what Ripple and XRP are trying to achieve. How, when, if it makes them anyone adopt it, we don't know, but at least we'll put more eyes onto their marketing
Yeah,
and the way that they display themselves as a crypto. Yeah, I'd have thought so.
for sure, for sure. And now we're getting to. We've got nothing about the court case this week, but we've got some other bits for you here. But we've got obviously the digital dollar project. They're really starting some sort of sandbox program, and I was just like Will tweeted here today. One of the partners here, as you can see, I can't really make this bigger or anything, is Ripple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, I don't know what I've done there. Let's
You're
not do
just gonna
that.
post it on Pinterest.
Let's not do that. But yeah, Ripple there once again. Obviously, we've seen them with Digital Pound Foundation. They're a gold member of the Digital Euro Association. Yet again, they're here giving their advice and helping, get these potential CBDCs out, rolling out there kind of thing.
Yes, just there's not really
It's
too much
not,
more to
yeah,
say.
it's not much to say about it, but Ripple there once again helping out there. And the real big XRPL news
Mhm.
is obviously the release of their potential, not potential because it's happening at XLS20,
Mhm.
which is their NFT platform, basically, which is hopefully going to be launched very soon because obviously they need over 80% of the vote
Mhm.
for it to get passed. It's currently at 82 point. I'm not too sure,
82.8,
but
yeah,
that's the one there.
yeah,
So as it stands, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a potential NFT platform that on the XRPL,
yep.
which is quite big. So how's this going to affect XRP? What do we want to know as XRP holders?
Well, obviously we're only speculating, but when we've
Yeah,
seen NFTs be brought to light from other platforms and really take adoption, they've really pushed other platforms like massively. So we saw like Matic is a great example of that. When Polygon got NFTs onto their platform, the Matic price started ripping. Same with Solana. As soon as Solana started minting NFTs onto their platform, the Solana price started ripping. It just gives like an alternative for people to create obviously digital collectibles, and on the XRP ledger being settled, how fast it is and how cheap it is to like mint, it will be to mint things or to have a transaction. That's the real attraction of the XRP ledger in regards to NFTs. It just means that people can create collectibles on there, and we know that Ripple have big creator funds for people wanting to start XRPs and grants on the XRPL, and we have already quite big economies of people like XR Punks, and I can't think of any more off the top of my head. There's a few that are waiting to be minted on the XRP ledger, or Spectre. X Spectre is another one that I've seen a lot of at the minute. they're all waiting for this update to come through. So I think it will bring a lot of attention to the XRP ledger itself, and that's 2 weeks time.
2 weeks.
2 weeks time.
Just
and,
around the corner.
And you did touch on the lawsuit. A big content creator in the XRP community called Jungle Inc. He speculated, and he's not really like much of a speculator. He said that he thinks there could be a settlement in September.
What was his thesis behind that, though?
I don't really know because I haven't watched his videos, but I just saw the tweet that he put out saying that, and he's quite a factual guy. Like he doesn't really make stuff up, but that was his thought process, and so for whatever reason, that's what he thinks.
Let's hope he's right. Then. But no, that's the news done for this week. What we are going to end on, just whilst we're on the topic of blockchain back here, where is it? Let me quickly skim down. I don't want to show you guys too much. Can't give away too much of the good stuff. Wait, where I've lost myself now.
There it is.
There it is. But yeah, obviously we've been banging on about our newsletter quite a bit, and rightly so as well, because this is actually a section I wrote myself. Obviously, just speaking about Bitcoin price action. Spoke about it on week 1. Just thought I'd cover it again. My one thing I wanted to cover, because it's going to lead us perfectly into the charts as well when we go and have a look at it, is what's going on with Bitcoin right now. And then I was trying to basically make a comparison to the last time. You can see at the top of your screen there, and we'll go into the chart. But last time the 50 MA kind of crossed bearish with the 100 MA, and how that kind of signaled the bottom back in 2018/2019. And then we obviously went on to this massive pump back up, and then obviously we had the COVID crash there, and then the rest was history. Obviously, we know that the blockchain backer actually made a YouTube video a few days after we released our newsletter. So I wrote this on a Wednesday, it's released on a Sunday. I think blockchain released his video on the Monday, I think it was. Saying the exact same thing, because if you look at the chart right now, just obviously try and remember that. In fact, I've still got this written, drawn in on my Bitcoin chart, I think. If you look at the comparison to where we are now and the structure of it, let me turn on the weekly. Like the makeup of this section here in comparison to this part here, it looks uncanny. It's familiar. Look at it. It's almost a carbon copy at the moment, if I can just do that. And I've used fractals in the past, and they haven't really come into fruition as such. Some have, some haven't. They're a bit hit and miss. So I tend not to give too much emphasis to it. But the fact that, you know, the MA is crossed at the exact same time like they have here, signaling the bottom, which is yet another thing, another sign that the bottom's in for Bitcoin, which again is we go into more on the newsletter. This is another signal, and the bottom could potentially be in. If we do actually go on to recover like we have here, we could have an interesting end to the year or start of 2023. Obviously, barring this COVID, that's obviously a black swan event. I'm not kind of putting that into the analysis at all. But
let's see. Like, who knows? And Blockchain Backer made a video today that I listened to, and he made a good point, is that we're actually 180 days after the executive order when they were saying that we need all the stuff back from people, from all the all the regulators in the US, and that's actually in September at some point. So middle September, there's so much stuff happening. You got the ETH merge, you've got Flare networks, you've got XLS20, and then you've got the September for the like regulators to come back from the regulators. All this stuff to come back there from the executive order. So
yeah, we've actually got a bullish month, to be fair. But saying that, if we go onto the monthly chart of Bitcoin, guess when the last time we had a green September? Back in 2016. Back in 2016 was the last green month of September we have. And since then, we've had consecutive red. Up until obviously 2021. Let's see if that's changed in 2022. So who knows?
Where is September 2016 on the old mini map?
On the old mini map. There you go. September here. It was it was a green candle, but look how small it was as well. Look at it. It was just about green there. And that's 2015. One sec. Let's get 2016. There it is. 2016.
Another small green candle.
Another small green candle.
But it could start the run after 2 red months. Like, it's 2 red months and then that, so it could start the run. That looks like almost about the start of a run up. So let's see.
The charts are looking nice, in my opinion. Anyway, obviously, they obviously could go down. I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying we can't retest the bottoms, but Time will tell. I feel that the sentiment's really bearish again at the moment. So everything that's happened over the past week or so, what
Hmm.
Powell's said and everything, I feel like the sentiment's gone back to bearish almost.
Yeah.
And that's, like we keep saying, is the time where it flips. Even though a lot of big people are still saying that they see a 12K Bitcoin, some even still shouting a 3K Bitcoin. So
Okay, well, to finish this week's episode off, Pav, apart from everyone going to sign up for the newsletter, I want to ask you, in 30 seconds, what is the price action going to do for Bitcoin? And if actually, I'm going to restructure that. I want
okay.
a 30-second answer. What's the
Oh
price
no.
action of XRP going to do?
What's the price action of XRP going to
XRP
do?
in the next 6 to 12 months.
Well, I'm in the process of writing about XRP price chart, which is obviously going to go in
Okay.
this week's edition. So I don't leave too much away.
Yeah.
But I think, short term, we will easily achieve this 44 cent mark easily.
Hmm.
What was the time frame again?
6 to 12 months.
6 to 12 months. Wow. Okay, 6 to 12 months. We're obviously going to see some sort of settlement within the case, I believe,
Hmm.
obviously. I think it will be a positive outcome for Ripple,
Hmm.
just the way that everything's going so far. All-time highs are very much achievable, depending on when the settlement comes and where the market prices are within its cycle, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So obviously, if Bitcoin's already recovered, then we've already started like a massive bull run, everyone's really happy and euphoric again,
Yeah.
and it happens within then I think we're going to see within 12 months
Yeah.
we could even see a $10 XRP. I think
Wow.
if we get to like I don't know all-time highs, which we will do obviously, which that's not the all-time high there, but it's $3.60 I think it is, which is up here.
Yeah.
If we get to like around this kind of area during the next like bull cycle when everything starts to pick up again,
Hmm.
and the case settles in, which is very much likely, which could happen,
Hmm.
then easily we're looking at
Easily.
ten to $13
Love
without a
that.
question, without a question,
Yeah, I love
in my
that.
opinion anyway.
Okay,
That'll probably
so,
be more towards the 12 month mark.
and just to
Obviously,
finish that then, just to absolutely finish that statement, what day of what month do we top out for XRP if we do go on a parabolic run like that?
oh, bloody hell, you put me on the spot here. So say once we're going up to this $10 mark,
Yeah. Any
we're gonna
day,
top
any month, any of
any
the
year.
year. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna say because I do believe, like I think the way everything's panning out at the moment, I think end of next year we will start to see new all-time highs. Maybe start of 24, we'll start to see new all-time highs on like Bitcoin, everything like that kind of thing. I'm gonna say January the 25th of 24.
Of
I
24.
think
We'll
at
see
24, I
what
think we'll
what
see like
price.
oh, I don't know. I can't give you that. I can't give that information away yet. If you want to know what that is, tune into our newsletter. That's where you get the juicy stuff. That's where you go. That's where I'll go in depth, everything like that.
Awesome. Thank
It's
you
hard.
for, of
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. It just
course.
depends where the market is. It
Hmm.
depends. Anything can happen in this time. Like Jungle Link said, we could even settle next month. Who knows?
If we
If we
settle
do
next
that,
month, mate, I'm going to be
that
doing
that might even be a
laps.
bit more beneficial then. Because say if we settle next month, XRP finds itself to like $3.60, comes back down or whatever,
Hmm.
starts grinding its way up with Bitcoin, like the whole market as it does, and then institutions start getting involved and utility really starts to pick up for XRP. That might be a bit more beneficial for XRP, and
Hmm.
then we might reach higher prices than we think because, like I said, there's actually like a lot of utility coming into factor as well. So
Yeah, or we settle and XRP just like sucks up the liquidity of the whole market and just flips everything and goes to number one, and then it's just, yeah,
guys, anything can happen in this market, in this world. Anything can literally happen. So be prepared for it.
that's
Be
it.
prepared for the up, going to the up, and be prepared for it to come back down to the bottom. So that's all I can say. But
Thanks.
position yourself.
Thanks for
It can
that.
go up, or it can go down, or it can stay the way it is.
Wow.
I can't lose.
Right, and that on that note, guys, we've been recording for a while. I think we've gone a bit wappy, but yeah, thank you for another week of the weekly roundup. This is me, Crypto Insight UK, with Pav, and yeah, you can catch us over on Twitter at Crypto Insight UK. Have a look at our newsletter in the links above, or see you next week with a piece up, A Town down from me.
Peace.